monthly meeting of the Mycological Association of Washington, D.C. I am the president, Elizabeth Hargrave, and I'm going to spend just a few minutes going through some club news and some fungi in the news stories. And then I'm going to hand it over to April Thompson, who's going to talk about culinary things that have been happening, especially in the last few days. Annie Weissman's going to talk about some of the mushrooms we found at our Sequinoda retreat. And then our main talk is Gabrielle Sorbeville, the chaotic forager. And first off, I just want to share some pictures from our amazing event that we just had over Labor Day weekend out at Sequinoda Camp and Conference Center in the Laurel Highlands of Pennsylvania. We found a great mix of mushrooms. We had 4 guest mycologists. This is Bill Ewell, Alan and Arlene Bissett, and Kurt Miller, all the way up from Puerto Rico, who were helping us out. Beautiful woods up there. It was a little drier than it's been the last couple of years we were up there, but there was still plenty to be found. And we had a bunch of other workshops as well. So someone did paper making with mushrooms, some false turkey tail, and a few other species. We did a mushroom jewelry workshop with Saranella, casting things in resin. There was lots of cooking of mushrooms to be done and delicious eating. We had a talent show with mushroom songs and costumes. And just a great spread of mushrooms that our expert identifiers put names on so that we could all learn a little bit more about how to ID things. If you were there, or if you weren't, some of these links may be of interest to you as well. We've got a feedback form for the folks that were at Sequinoda, and please do fill that out. We have a Google photo album with many more pictures than what I just shared, and folks are welcome to continue uploading photos there as you get to them. And then Annie in a little bit is going to talk more about the iNaturalist project that we started specifically to capture just the pictures from this weekend, and it's pretty cool. And stay tuned for that in a few minutes. Oh, one of the charts that's on here is not showing up, but oh, there it is. Great. There are 2 more forays that I just wanted to point out this year. There's also a NAMA foray, but that one's sold out. But in a couple weeks, there's a link-off foray up in Pennsylvania again, around Pittsburgh. It's a shorter event, but has a very good reputation as finding good stuff and good people. And then the Northeast, I believe it's Mycological Federation, NEMF, has a weekend foray up on Cape Cod, and that registration is still open until September 6th. It looks like they've got a few slots still available if anyone wants to make a last-minute trip up to Cape Cod this fall. And then do save the date for our next trip up to Sequinoda, which will be Labor Day weekend of 2025. All right. Lots more events going on this month. Mount Rainier Nature Center is hosting a whole series of things because September is Mushroom Month. First up is what Saranella says is her favorite mushroom movie, a documentary about fungi. So she's going to show that and then do a panel afterwards with Tom McCoy and herself. Our regular monthly DNA day is at Mount Rainier Nature Center normally, so they've worked that into Mushroom Month events. So you can take stuff in the morning to be sequenced, or you can just go ask questions in the afternoon. There's an arts and crafts workshop on September 12th. We're doing a launch party for my new mushroom themed game called Undergrove on September 19th. It'll actually be out in retail in October, but if folks want to come to that, I will have a bunch of copies to use to teach people how to play. And then a night hike, which we also had one at Sequoia. There's so much to see that will fluoresce in ultraviolet light, and there are a few bioluminescent mushrooms in our area that should be out this time of year. So that should be a fun one too. All of these, some of these have event listings in the PG County Parks system, but you can get to all of them from our website, from the calendar that's on the front page. We made listings for them there as well. Other stuff, our monthly program is always the first Tuesday of the month. And then one of our other biggest events of the year is a mushroom fair that we have at Brookside Gardens every year up here in Montgomery County. Um, and that's going to be October 13th. We will probably schedule a bunch of forays ahead of time. And folks are welcome to also bring in mushrooms that you find in your yard or in your neighborhood or wherever to bring in, and we'll ID those and we'll get them set up on the table for everyone who comes through Brookside Gardens that day to see. We usually get a lot of just random passersby, and then a lot of people come out from the club. It's a great event. April has just scheduled a mushroom beer making workshop for October 27th, so stay tuned for that. You'll get a separate email on that one. And then two deadlines I wanted to point out. MAW offers research grants to folks who want to do academic research projects focused on mycology. If you know someone who might be interested, please pass this along. The info is under scholarships on our website, and we'll give up to $1,500. And then we have the folks who get a grant come do either a full length or a shorter presentation in one of our monthly meetings. So it's a win-win. And then Tom McCoy's running a photo contest again this year, and wanted to remind everyone that that deadline is November 11th. So he and his team can pick their favorite photos by the end of the year. So lots going on. It's a great time of year for mushrooms too. So I'm sure there will be forays scheduled among all these dates as well. All right, I have just a few fungi in the news stories. The first one, there was a paper that just came out describing two new species of psilocybe in southern Africa. One was in Lesotho and one was in South Africa. They were both species that were first sent to mycologists for ID by amateur mushroomers, which is fun. So there's sort of a community science aspect to both of these. Both of these the Latin names that they gave them are references to local mountain ranges where they are found. And so people often call these mushrooms were just discovered, right? But they weren't discovered, it turns out, because the team actually went to the trouble of going and doing some interviews in the region about whether anyone already knew about these mushrooms. And sure enough, there is a history of use in that region of Africa by local healers and shamans, where they actually mix it with a hallucinogenic plant and give it to people. And then they have sort of a guided trip where they're sitting with that healer who's helping to interpret what their visions are. So I thought this was a really interesting case of a paper where they went and sort of did the ethnological, anthropological research along with just describing the new species. Is a nice example of that. All right, I'm going to try and play this short little video from NASA about what they're doing with mycelium for possible architecture on Mars and the moon. Is this going to play? So as far as I can tell, this is like a internal grant program that it's actually NASA staff who are working on growing th structures made out of mycelium. But they've put out a press release about the fact that they've awarded this project. So that was kind of fun to see. I know we've had several items in the news lately about building with mycelium, and it seems like it's catching on. Oops, I don't want to play that again. I want to go to my next slide. Here we go. I have another video for you about this project that is using fungi as part of robots. So did everyone see the flashlight that just came down and shined UV light on this? There is mycelium in this robot that is responsive to the UV light. I'll play it again. Oops, it went big. Look at that. So the UV light, and then it's like picking up on the electrical signals that the mycelium is making in response to that light, and the robot goes faster. So that seems cool. And I think that is all I have for the news.